Hello and welcome back to Holt Hanley Weather. There's a lot of exciting weather events happening over the next week, so we're going to take a look at those as well as an in-depth look into this major snowstorm that is going to be hitting the Northeast next Thursday, Friday, possibly bringing a foot or more of snow to some places. Before we talk about that though, let's take a look at what's happening right now. Well, right now, basically the entire eastern half of the country is below freezing. Even as far south as Alabama, Georgia, and Florida, you see temperatures below 32 degrees. The good news is, if you are absolutely freezing right now, chattering teeth, it's not going to last long. In about 6 hours, look what happens here. Completely warms up, 20-degree temperature changes basically everywhere, in the positive direction, thankfully. And the reason for that is the trough that brought that cold air down, that's going to move off. And then a ridge is going to build in, bringing above average temperatures, which will be a nice break from this cold air. Let's take a look at the exact temperature change right here in Georgia. That 28, what's going to happen to that in just 6 hours? Well, that 28 turns into a 49. And if you look at basically all the other temperatures in the southeast, same story happens. Goes up 20 degrees in just 6 hours. Same story for the Midwest. Let's take a look at this 16 right here. Well, in 6 hours, that turns into a 36. I'm sure the Midwest is very happy to see that because they've been getting just Arctic blast after Arctic blast of cold air pretty much the last 2 weeks. There was one day there was a -40 wind chill in Minnesota. Made me extremely happy that I live in California, where it's pretty much 70 and sunny throughout this whole month of February. All right, the big reason for those cold temperatures moving off and the warm temperatures coming in is this trough that brought that cold air down. That's moving off into the Atlantic. And then this nice ridge builds in, bringing in some warm air. The other big thing we're going to be looking at here is this cutoff low off of Southern California. What that's doing is bringing in warm, moist air from the tropical Pacific, which is going to fuel this low pressure and allow it to bring some rain and snow to basically the whole Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado area, then into the Texas, Oklahoma area, and then into the southeast, and then into the northeast. So let's take a look as this low moves through. You see right here, those wind barbs are bringing in that warm, moist air. You can see it better on the windy map where you can really see those wind streams. Pretty fast wind. That's going to be working into this low. And when that warm air moves in, here's what happens. The warm air moves in and warm air rises. Once it rises, it creates clouds. And because of the moisture in the atmosphere, those clouds are going to have a lot of water vapor and a lot of water droplets. That's going to drop right over Arizona where flash flood watches are in effect. So watch this cutoff low. It doesn't really dig too far. You really want to see those ice bars very north and south, and it's kind of a weak trough at this point as it moves through Oklahoma. And then on Tuesday, that's going to go up, hit the northeast. It's going to bring some rain, a little snowfall, but that's not the storm we're talking about for that major snowstorm that's hitting Thursday and Friday. That one is associated with this giant trough that's going to be developing throughout Tuesday. As you can see at this point, it is checking the two boxes for what you want to look for a trough to just be extreme. The two things I look for: how north and south are the isobars and how close are they together on the left side of the trough. I'll explain that in a second. Here you see basically going from Montana to Arizona, it's pretty much completely vertical. You almost never see that. Think about it. If it's super flat like it is over, the southeast in this, that's not going to bring any exciting weather. When it's like that, that means there's a lot of cold air and energy being pulled down and a lot of warm air and energy being pulled up on the right side. And when those isobars are closer together, lines of constant pressure, on the left side, that means that this trough is going to dig farther south, deepen, and grow in strength. And that's exactly what we see. You see it move almost into the southern tip of Texas and then really start to grow in strength as it moves up into the northeast, bringing that major snowstorm that we're going to see on Thursday and Friday. So looking at the precip right now, Arizona, you're already starting to get it as this low moves through Southern California up into Nevada and then into Arizona, where it's going to bring some heavy rainfall rates. Again, this is an area that isn't used to rainfall, so it only takes about a half an inch to lead to some flash floods. That's why a warning is in effect. And then that's going to bring some heavy snowfall rates into Utah and Colorado in some isolated places. And then even some heavy snowfall rates, take a look at them right there, in Arizona and New Mexico. That one is associated with that second trough we saw moving down, bringing in that cold air all the way down to Texas, if you remember that one. Well, let's take a look at Texas. As that low moves in, this is Sunday at about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It's going to start off just bringing some rain to the Oklahoma area, and majority of the action is going to be north of the low. A lot of times you'll see it right around here, where typically the warm front is associated. It usually comes off a low right there where you get all that rising motion. But it starts off mostly rain in Oklahoma, and some heavy rates at that. And then that low, it kind of looks like it weakens at this point. And the reason for that is all that warm air and moisture that it got from the tropical Pacific, well, it kind of dumps it all out on Oklahoma, and then you think it's about to weaken for a second, but then it starts getting the influence from the Gulf of Mexico. This reinforces the low, and then on Monday at 1 p.m., you see this heavy band from eastern Texas all the way up into Tennessee start to form. And then you can imagine what happens as it continues to move over the southeast. Well, that low is going to continue to strengthen because it's really kicking in some warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. The good news for the southeast, basically throughout this weekend, you guys are in the clear for precipitation. That is much needed because parts of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia are still flooded from just the bombardment of, I think that's a word, bombardment? I don't know. I'll look it up after the video. You guys have just been getting a ridiculous amount of rain the last 2 to 3 weeks, leading to flooding, especially along the Pearl River Basin in Mississippi, where rivers reached levels that, like the third highest levels of all time for the Pearl River Basin. And thousands of homes were flooded. It was a state of emergency. Luckily, little recovery can happen this weekend. But then, come Monday, those ominous greens start to build back into the region associated with that big low. There's that heavy band from the reinforcement of the Gulf of Mexico. That starts Monday at 1 p.m. And then as it continues to bring in that warm, moist air, the rainfall rates increase. We start seeing 0.2 to 0.4 inches in Florida, Alabama, and Georgia. And then maybe into the 0.5s and higher moving into Tuesday morning. And the thing about this one is it doesn't just move off like that trough is doing right now. It really hangs out for a while, bringing in heavy rainfall throughout Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. A really strong band fills into Georgia and Florida. That's going to lead to some flooding, guaranteed. That's 0.5 inches per hour. Soils just can't take that. They're going to saturate, and then flooding occurs. And that really continues all the way through Thursday. So, unfortunate news for the southeast. The flooding is going to continue. The other story, that major snowstorm that's happening in the northeast. If you made it this long in the video, congratulations. Now we get to talk about the big event that is likely for next week. Again, the models are going to change, so I'm going to keep you guys updated on this one as the models progress and get better as we get closer to the actual date. So here's remember that little cutoff low off Southern California that was going to hit the northeast on Tuesday? Well, this is showing what is going to happen as that cutoff low hits. See, weak rainfall rates, maybe a little snow in parts of New York, Vermont, Maine, but it's nothing major. That one just didn't really have that north-south component of the isobars that you want to see if you're a snow lover. The storm that did have that is that one that's hitting on Thursday and Friday. And here we see as it moves in. Right now it's showing 1,000 millibars. That's actually worse than the models were saying yesterday. Yesterday at this point they were saying like 983. and there was already crazy snowfall rates. Well, it drops down to 996. This is now Thursday at 1 in the morning. And you see those heavy rates start to build into Canada, but most of the Northeast at this point, you're getting rain. And that's probably mostly because that warm air coming in from the Gulf Stream. But then as that cold air starts to fill in underneath the low from the counterclockwise rotation, start to get some heavy rates in New York. This is now Thursday at 7 a.m. Going into Thursday at 1 p.m., those heavy rates start to show up in Vermont and New Hampshire. Maine, you're gonna want to watch out when you're commuting to work on Thursday, because, well, that's some freezing rain right there, and that's dangerous for road conditions. And then those heavy rates move up into North Maine Thursday night. So, for the most part, the heaviest snowfall is still showing up into Canada. And, you know, what we're really going to be hoping is for that low to move farther south. And when we look at the 24-hour accumulated snowfall rates, you see that 12-inch bullseye right there up in Canada. Well, we want that to move down into the Northeast, especially if you're a snow lover. And honestly, a lot of the storms recently have been doing that, so there is a chance. But even if that doesn't happen, still got some nice rates associated with this one. That's maybe 6 to 8 inches in New York, 7 inches in New Hampshire, 7 inches in Maine, and I'm predicting that this one's going to strengthen. Although the models are trending that low is getting a little weaker, I believe in this one. Maybe I just want something exciting to happen in the weather forecast after our Friday did not have any precipitation anywhere in the entire country. I'll keep you guys updated on this one. If you like weather-related content and following the weather like I do, well, I make these daily forecast videos every single day. So if you learned something in this video and you want to learn more in the future, you can subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.